Some days on this channel I feel a little bit rowdy and I feel like going after some people. Because I feel like a lot of people are confused. And specifically today I want to talk about rednecks. Rednecks and hillbillies. These are people that I've known my entire life. I've grown to love and respect them over the years. People in my family, people that I would call family. But people who are generally kind of misled. But don't let yourself be misled on this one, because the truth is, not all hillbillies and rednecks are conservative. In fact, most of them have sentiments that are incredibly left-leaning because most of them have survived hardship their entire lives. Through generations, they go back in time and they've been fighting for unions, fighting for workers' rights the entire time. But for some reason now, they love Trump. It's fascinating, that's for sure, but not all of them. Let's have a look.
Boy, howdy, let me tell you what. If you think that the Trump administration knows a goddamn thing about anything, you don't know shit about shit either, buddy. Let me just tell you. And coming from real redneck, and I mean real redneck. Here, let me show you some redneck shit real quick. Pit bull, charcoal grill, chicken vitamins, chickens, fruit trees as far as I can see, by God. The Great Smoky Mountains. I'm a real redneck, by God. If you're simping for these fascists, and you come from Appalachia, your grandpappy rolling in his fucking grave right now, I tell you what. And if you claim to be a redneck, but you don't know about the Battle of Blair Mountain, or the Battle of Athens, Tennessee, you ain't no redneck, buddy. Real rednecks stand in solidarity with all the people. You feel me? Power to the people.
People forget that a whole bunch of hillbillies stood arm in arm with the Black Panthers back in the day. As someone who spent so much of my life in West Virginia, I can tell you that, believe it or not, it's very diverse people, especially West Virginia. Southern West Virginia, especially going back hundreds of years, was a place that broke away from the Confederacy and never really had the same ideals as the rest of the South did. But things generally change over time, as they do, and people get a little bit stupider. And that's exactly what has happened. Let's talk about what's happening this week. There's government shutdown. That's probably going to happen. The whole damn thing. And why? Because the president wants to cut federal spending. He looks at the budget like it's a menu at a high-end restaurant. He's just a cheapskate of a date. $50 for an appetizer, but the appetizer is actually food assistance. No, I think we'll skip that. That's just not on brand. He's talking about cutting federal programs. And you know what that is? It's the very programs that keep Appalachia in the South, rural areas, from just becoming a scene like we saw in Cormac McCarthy's The Road. Fantastic book, fantastic movie, but you probably can't read anyway. Programs for broadband internet, rural hospitals, and clean energy on farms. He's literally trying to pull the plug on life support that rural communities are on, and they're just worshiping him for it. And the stats prove it. Folks, the stats prove it. The poverty rate in rural communities is actually 30% higher than it is in urban areas. Urban areas have more jobs, but they're also more expensive. There's just less jobs in rural areas. So it's important to keep all the jobs that you actually have there. But by cutting federal funding to all these programs that people need, in the end, it's just going to cause the last Dollar General in the town to shut down. And people are in desperate need of being able to shop there as it is. We talk about the inputs on farms being so expensive. And that's one of the reasons why there's a 70% uptick in farm bankruptcies right now. But he's slashing funding for programs that support things like Rural Energy for Americans program, which helps farmers and small businesses have lower cost. It's a beautiful strategy, really, if you're an oligarch or you're trying to seize all the wealth and power. And he talks about how he's going to make America great again, but at the same time, for all you rural poors out there, he's going to take an axe to one of the few things that makes life just a little less miserable. It's like a guy who promised to come by and fix up your busted truck, but ended up walking away with the tires. And honestly, don't get me started on the healthcare stuff, because what we saw in the big, beautiful bill, which honestly just sounds like something that was designed to capture the love and hearts of all the rubes out there, was just a massive tax cut for the wealthy, and that's paid for by cutting Medicare and food assistance. Things that, again, people in the rural communities, rednecks, hillbillies, need the most. And the thing is, most of these people know that, but they've been so gang-pressed into believing that patriotism is tied to national economy, when the national economy has always used these areas as sacrifice zones to harvest all the resources from them, leaving the people without and taking all the profits to the big cities. But you're going to vote for the same guy who comes from that lineage of people who've been extracting all the wealth and profit from your area from time immemorial. It's the exact same person. The educated gentleman in that video in the beginning talked about the Battle of Blair Mountain. Let me tell you something. This guy's cut from the exact same cloth. Donald Trump is the exact kind of guy, and everybody in that administration, the exact kind of people who would have marched on that mountain and went to war with those workers. Well, we'll get to that. A little education at the end, a little history lesson, because they don't teach about the Battle of Blair Mountain in American history for the most part. But just think about that for a second, right? As far as the healthcare, the cutting the federal programs go. The very people who are the biggest supporters of this sack of shit are the people who are dependent on these programs more than anyone else per capita in the country. And in the end, they're going to be the ones left holding the bag. After the midterms happen and all these things go into effect, it's going to destroy rural communities. And you're going to see a blue wave that's powered by the nihilism produced by the abandonment of the people by the Republican Party. Just remember that when this happens, those who are making under $24,000 a year are going to have to pay an increase of $1,300, while those who are making over $700,000 a year are going to make an extra $1,300 in profits. I love this country, but this is a massive grift. And you rural people are eating this shit up hook, line, and sinker. And in the end, you're the one who's going to be pulled onto the boat, gutted, and thrown back in the water because you're a carp. And Americans don't eat those. It's like being a fan of a WWE wrestler who keeps punching you in the face, right? But he says it's the other guy. He says he's not actually hurting you. He's just making your face great again. And of course, being in the rural areas, you always want American goods. You say, I buy things that are made in America because they're sturdy, even though that's an absolute lie. But the tariffs are making life on rural people just that much harder. It's costing them hundreds, if not thousands of dollars more on the same bullshit products that they buy. Because the only products that they actually have available to them at the Dollar General or Walmart are imported from other countries. Because we don't actually have the infrastructure to produce those things in America. So you idiots, you're just shooting yourself in the foot left and right. So the next time you need to buy a new couch to replace the moldy old one that you have in the trailer, guess what? When it's going to cost an extra couple $100 more or a couple $1,000 more, because I don't know if you knew this, but furniture is not exactly cheap and all of it comes from China. All you can do is look in the mirror and blame yourself. None of this is in the interest of rural people or your rednecks or your hillbillies, of which I will count myself as one. I am a rural person, right? I have a deep affinity for woods and pepperoni rolls. I love moonshine. It is fantastic. I can't drink anymore because I get wild hangovers, but I got fond memories of it. The soul of rural people, right? The heart of the Appalachian people, right? It isn't in Nashville. It's from the deep hollers of West Virginia. It's from Kentucky. It's from the Great Smoky Mountains. Right? It's from places that have been abandoned by corporations and by the powerful and by politicians for generations. And now you're just going to turn around and support those people? Let's get back to Blair Mountain. Let's talk about that for a second. Let's go back to a real moment in American history, one that should be tattooed on the back of the hand of every working class person in America. The Battle of Blair Mountain. It was an army of rednecks, hillbillies, coal miners going to war with a private military and the government, right? You've heard of I sold my soul to the company store. Yeah, well, people didn't want that anymore. So they fought for workers' rights and the ability to actually start a union. They weren't fighting for a political party. They were fighting for regulations that actually made it safe for them to work in a wage that could actually put food on the table. They were fighting against the very forces of unchecked corporate power and the willingness of the government to side with the rich over the working man. Essentially, they were fighting against the guy in the private jet. But now you rural people, you're voting for the exact same guy. The same guy that your economic ancestors went to war against because they were oppressing them, just like you're being oppressed now. You're just too proud to say it. You're wearing the hat that says "Make America Great Again" while you are worshiping the spiritual heir to the corporate throne of those who fought against the working people at the Battle of Blair Mountain. Honestly, it's an amazing punchline if you think about it. It's probably one of the biggest jokes of all time. It's one of the biggest con jobs of all time for sure, to have you turn against your people and think that you're doing what's best for them when it's never been what's best for them. It's never been in their interest. So remember that you are a prop, a glorious prop, in a play that you didn't even know that you were in. Right? You're the cheering crowd in the Roman Colosseum, and the emperor is about to throw you in to be eaten by the lions next. It's a tragedy. and a comedy, but it's so American at the same time. It's one tragic core, just one deep fried pork rind of misery. So all my fellow rednecks and hillbillies out there, all of those who love to call the holler their home, all those who say West by God and support the blue line while at the same time hating the police and saying that you want small government, while at the same time approving US troops walking the streets of our cities, the guy in the suit is not your friend, and he never has been. The guy who came to fix your truck and walked away with the tires is trying to sell you those tires. The sad thing is, you're probably gonna buy him, but at least he tells a good story. And I guess in the end, that's what it's all about. Choose the story that you want, all right? You wanna be on the side of those who crack down on your grandparents and your great-grandparents when they just wanted safer places to work in, when they didn't want to die of black lung, when they didn't want to die in the farm, when they wanted to make sure that they weren't getting poisoned, or that they had food and water, that they can give their kids a decent education, right? That their grandparents can grow old knowing that they can go to the doctor? Or do you want to be on the side of the American people who love this country just like you love it, but in a different way at the same time? Who want freedom, who want liberty, who want justice, and who want to maintain all the hard-earned and hard-fought rights and benefits that we've come to rely on in this country, that we fought for. Think about it. Be proud and be different. Listen, if you're redneck to hillbilly and you think a little bit differently, right? If you're more on the liberal side, be okay with that. It's fine. You know, there's a lot of us out there who are like that. Truly there are. And it's more and more every day. As kind of the glossy veneer of the golden towers and the suits making big promises, as that fades away, things are going to go back to where they should have been, which is rural people understanding that Wall Street has never been on their side. But if you're still here at this point, like and subscribe, have a share. Definitely subscribe at this point. Why not? You watched a few of these videos, right? We make these pretty much every day. It's fun. If you have some ideas, put them in the comments. Sometimes I talk about them. Why not? But donations are always great. We appreciate them. I have a baby to feed. But other than that, I hope you guys have a good one.